Hey, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM. If you're interested in sponsoring my show, you can send me an email to the Mike Wagner Show at gmail.com, or you could also donate to the podcast. Just go to the donate listen site, and you can also donate whatever you like. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. For those who are interested, Anchor can give you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. We've got creation tools, allows you to record and edit podcasts so it sounds great, and they'll distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple, Google, many more. And you can make money from the podcast with no minimum listenership. So download the Anchor app for free or go to Anchor FM to get started.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart Radio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart Radio. Also on Radio Public, Anchor FM, and also the YouTube channel. You subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show and take the Mike Wagner Show with you on a mobile device. We're here with a wonderful lady who is the Interstellar Woman of Mystery. She's the author of over 40 books, including the latest book about the shuttle disaster, co-author of the Spreaker Saga series and critically acclaimed Displaced Detective Series. She's worked over 20 years in space programs with various degrees in astronomy, physics, chemistry, mathematics, geology, anatomy. Also licensed in ministry, duly sworn certified police officer, and National Weather Service storm spotter, which we can use these days in terms of changing weather. And here he is, just a fascinating lady from down in the deep heart of Alabama, the Interstellar Woman of Mystery. Ladies and gentlemen, the fascinating Stephanie Osborn. Stephanie, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, you're welcome. You're the author of 40 books, including the latest about the shuttle disaster. You co-authored the Spreaker Saga series and critically acclaimed Displaced Detective Series, and you also have also done a number of things like climb Pikes Peak. You went across bridges, went down gold mines, and you also have a book that's coming out called Burnout, The Mystery of Space Shuttle STS-281, and you also had some other books, and you also been with National Geographic and quite a few others. But before we get into all that, tell us how you got started.
I beg your pardon?
Tell us how you got started in your career.
Oh, geez. Well, my writing career is a relatively recent thing. I only started it. I've always written. I've never been a professional author until about 11 years ago was when I first got my first book contract. I actually started off as a kid wanting to work in the space program, so I spent like a couple of decades working in the civilian and military space industries. Worked with the Space Shuttle, the International Space Station, helped train astronauts, sat console for missions, that whole thing. And then I lost a friend on board the Shuttle Columbia disaster. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of, I don't know, after that, a lot of the fun went out of it for me. Mm. And I started thinking, maybe I need to get out of this and go do something else. Mm-hmm. And that's when the whole writing thing came to be. Burnout, you mentioned it a couple of times. That was my first novel. And I had actually started working on it before the Columbia disaster. And they say, write what you know. So I did. I wrote about a shuttle disaster. And I actually had completed the first draft, put it in the hands of my writing mentor to help me to read it and help me polish it. And when the Columbia went down, he had just finished it, and I had pretty much nailed the scenario. The only difference being my fictional scenario was sabotage, and the real-life scenario was accidental. And so he was like, Steph, this is good. And I was like, I'm going to trash it. He's like, no, you're not. You just because I was freaking. I was so upset. And he said, no, it's good. Don't trash it. Let's polish it. I can help you find a publisher. Let's do this. And he did help me find a publisher, and so that's how it all got started.
Now, did you have to change the ending to the actually what happened as accidental instead of the what was it, the sabotage in that book?
Yeah, I did. I went ahead and went with the sabotage concept in the book because I wanted to make it clear. You can't imagine. I nailed everything from the orbital inclination to the overflown states. I mean, it was just, I was seriously freaking out. But he pointed out, you worked in the industry for all these many years. You know how this works. You just happened to pick a mission payload that was similar to the one that was up on Columbia. Mm-hmm. And so once you do that, it all tends to follow the same patterns. And so I decided to make it very, very plain that what I was writing was not the real-life story of what really happened, but was an actual, fictional concept. But I did dedicate the book to my friend and to the rest of the crew of the Columbia.
Oh, okay, so now let's refresh everyone's memory about the Space Shuttle Columbia, what happened, and, the events leading up to it. So maybe just a little bit of a refresher.
Well, what happened was that that's the one that burned up during reentry, that broke apart and burned up during reentry. What happened was that during launch, a piece of the insulating foam on the external tank broke loose. And it impacted, at this point in time, I can no longer remember which wing it was. I want to think it was the port wing, but I may be wrong on that. But it impacted the wing from the leading edge, punched a hole through the leading edge of the wing, and gouged a groove all the way down the bottom of the wing. And that wound up, during reentry, you had atmospheric blow-through into the interior of the wing, which started to basically soften all of the struts, the structural support of the wing. It also managed to blow through into the interior because of the gouge, blew through into the wheel well, to the landing gear. And the tires, they're gigantic tires, but the heating was so tremendous. And near as anybody can figure from what I understood, reading the various and sundry after investigation reports, apparently there was a combination of the structural support for the wing, which was all metal, had softened. At least one of the tires blew, and the combination of those two things basically caused the wing to rip off.
Wow.
Yeah, so as soon as the wing is gone, you've lost all aerodynamic stability. The craft went into a tumble and broke up. At like Mach 17.
Amazing. Wow. It's like I could not imagine it. When I hear about the Space Shuttle Columbia, also made me think of the Space Shuttle Challenger when it went up in the air and it blew up. And I have to share my story on this one too, because I was working as a shift reporter for WSIU in Carbondale, Illinois back in 1986 when I heard the teletype just going crazy, ding, 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 ding. And for those who don't know what teletypes were, that it was just a news wire that was giving like the latest up to date. When it goes ding, 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 that means a breaking news alert, urgent, whatever it is. And I heard this ding, and I read it says that Space Shuttle Challenger has exploded in space, no known casualties. And I read out loud, and it says, guys, you better take a look. And they all said, holy crap! And there was like maybe 20, 30 people that barged in the newsroom, and I just snuck out of there. avoiding getting trampled. And I read something about this too, and I thought similar. It's like, well, it seems like to me the Challenger and Columbia were both like the same thing. And it was like, someone with a design that just kind of blew up. It's just scary.
Well, they were both due to the same thing. They were both due to temperatures at the pad on the launch pad getting down too cool the night before the launch.
Mm-hmm.
One caused ice to crystallize in, the external tank was so big. The foam was one of those two component spray-on jobs, but you had to do it in batches because the tank was so big, and so in the disconformity between batches was where the ice crystals formed and evidently pried loose a chunk of the foam about the size of a briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what caused Columbia. Challenger had a similar thing happen. The temperatures got down too low, but what happened there was that the O-rings in between the segments for the solid rocket boosters hardened in the cold and lost their flexibility, lost their ability to seal off between the segments of the booster, which were also so big that they had to be done in segments, and so they were stacked.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, the cause was similar, and they wound up, there's a hard and fast rule now. If the temperature is below a certain temperature, they won't launch.
Mm.
Even the next day, they won't launch. So, they kind of learned their lesson.
That is amazing, too. And we'll talk more about that as well, too, along with the book and some others. Listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart Radio. Also watch the interview on YouTube as well, too, on The Mike Wagner Show. And also listen on Radio Public and Anchor FM. You can also take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with Stephanie Osborn, the Interstellar Woman of Mystery, veteran of more than 20 years in the civilian space program, as well as various military space defense programs, worked on numerous space shuttle flights in the International Space Station, constant training of astronauts on her resume as well, too. Space experience includes Space Lab, ISS operations, and many, many more. She's also author of over 40 books, including the latest about the shuttle disaster, and also co-authored a couple of series as well, too, the Crisperian Saga series and the critically acclaimed Displaced Detective series. And, getting back to the book, Burnout, the Mystery of the Space Shuttle, STS-281. And is there any talks about having that going to movies or film or anything like that?
Well, at one point in time, it was actually optioned as a feature film, but the option lapsed. What wound up happening was that was about the time that the country's credit rating got lowered, mm-hmm. and all of the would-be financial backers got cold feet. So, I would love to see it go to feature film, but so far, no.
and of course, you just also been uncredited science consultant for National Geographic's Rocket City Rednecks, and I just saw that. Maybe just tell us a little bit about that. That looks pretty fun. Rocket City Rednecks.
Yes. Well, did you see the show? It's been some years back.
Oh my gosh, it's like, I have to say this, I don't have cable, that's the thing, but now you look at it, it's like, oh, I wish I was seen this now that you mentioned it. It
starred Dr. Travis Taylor. He happens to be a friend of mine. He also is my writing mentor. He's the guy that talked me out of trashing the Burnout manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the star of the show. The concept was let's use, garage mechanic techniques to show people how this stuff really works, and to teach people and to show them what kind of science you can do in your backyard, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Travis is a friend of mine, so occasionally he would call me up, Steph, had an idea for the show. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, and we'd wind up brainstorming. And it was supposed to be a closed set, but I was one of the people who was allowed on set, in the background, and I would help out. I would, help set materials up or whatever. So I didn't get any credit for it, and that's cool. That's all right. I got to see what it was like, doing a show like that, which was kind of interesting, and so it was kind of a fun little thing, and they filmed. He did his day job during the week, and then they filmed on the weekends. So each weekend was at least one episode. So that kind of gives you. I think it was about a half-hour show. So, but they would have all kinds of projects, everything from constructing a submarine to building a fairly good-sized rocket.
Mm-hmm.
To can we come up with ideas to protect a vehicle from an IED?
Mm-hmm.
And basically a landmine, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but they were usually pretty successful. Occasionally, it would go, in an odd direction that they weren't expecting. But it was kind of an interesting, fun show.
It sounds amazing, too. I'll have to check that out. And you also got involved in a series back in January 2017, Division 1, with the first book, Alpha and Omega. And you can just tell us a little bit about that one.
Well, that's an ongoing series. I'm actually working at, let's see, what is it? It's book 12? I think I'm working on book 12 now.
Mm-hmm.
It's my take on the urban legend of those guys in the dark suits who show up at the UFO encounters and make the evidence go away.
It sounds like Men in Black. That's what I'm thinking.
It's the movies use the same urban legend material that I'm mining for my stories. But I go off in a completely different direction from what they do with it. But yeah, that's the urban legend. I use all of it: Men in Black, UFOs. It's kind of funny because the show on the History Channel. Well, you don't get cable. There's a show on the History Channel that's all about, it's all of the what I call the true believers. The ones that, we've been visited by aliens for these many centuries, and they're really living among us and all this kind of stuff. And it's funny because when I can actually stand to watch the show without wanting to throw a brick at my TV, I get all kinds of cool ideas for the stories. So, and I just take the urban legends and basically I turn them on their ear.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I also tell people, I write this series with my tongue planted so deeply in my cheek that's poking out the side of my face.
Oh my gosh!
So I write them with humor. The characters. People think, they're like, "Who did you base this? It's a real person, isn't it?" No, it's not. But the characters are realistic to my readers, and so they poke fun at each other. They have running gags, running jokes, but occasionally things get really, really, really very serious too, because they can get hurt,
mm-hmm.
they can be killed. It is not every alien out there is inferior to humans in abilities or strength or anything like that. And sometimes they have to deal with that, and they have to figure out, okay, as a human, I don't have this ability. How do I counter it?
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, they are part of the galactic police force, is the way I play it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there is the Pan-Galactic Coalition is the galactic government.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the galaxy divided up into what you or I would consider precincts,
Mm-hmm.
are called divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Earth is in Division 1, hence the name of the series.
Got it. Okay. And what are your thoughts on the TV series Star Trek?
Beg your pardon?
What are your thoughts on the TV series Star Trek?
Oh, geez. I grew up on Star Trek. I was a kid when Star Trek first aired,
Mm-hmm.
and Star Trek and the Apollo 1 fire were together responsible for my winding up working in the space program.
Mm-hmm.
Because one happened while the other was airing, basically. And so I looked at it and I said, looked at the TV show and I said, that's where we could wind up being.
Uh-huh.
And then I looked at the disaster and I said, this is where we are. These guys thought it was important enough to risk their lives to get there. And, little kid, I'm like elementary school, and I'm like, I want to help get from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and from then on, my big push throughout all of my education was, I'm going to work in the space program one of these days.
That sounds amazing too, and of course, how you got inspired. Like with Star Trek and just about everything else, and we mentioned about Space Lab, ISS operations, and you also experienced with variable star astrophysics, Martian alien geophysics. I hope I got that right. Radiation physics, nuclear, biological, and chemical weapon effects, and maybe just in a nutshell, just tell us about those, and maybe just how you got interested, especially with variable star astrophysics and Martian alien geophysics. That's AEOLIN geophysics.
It's pronounced Aeolian, and basically that is having to do with the wind.
Okay.
So basically, Aeolian geophysics has to do with wind-borne particles.
Mm-hmm.
Think how sand dunes form. Think how dust storms form. That kind of thing. I wound up writing a paper about that, and I did a whole lot of studies on it, and I came to the conclusion that because of the very, very lower air pressure on Mars relative to Earth, that the same type of particles on Earth, geophysicists divide particles, they size particles according to the way they behave, everywhere from dust specks up to boulders. So a pebble is defined as a certain size, a sand grain is defined as a certain size, a silt grain is defined as a certain size, a dust grain is defined as a certain size, going smaller.
Mm-hmm.
What I found was that we're going to have to redefine those, because they defined the sizes based on their behaviors on Earth. But they don't behave like that on Mars, because the air is much thinner.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want a sand grain on Mars, it's going to be much smaller than it would be on Earth, because the air can't carry it and form a sand dune,
mm-hmm.
At the same size as it would be on Earth. So that was kind of what that paper was about. It was, here's the behavior, here's how the definition is going to have to change, because here's the size of the particles that do the same thing on Mars as this size of particle would do on Earth, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
My graduate work was in variable star astronomy, and basically there's stars out there. There are many stars out there that do not maintain a constant brightness for various reasons. Some of them actually pulse in size. Some of them are not spherical; they're oblong. So, when the end of the thing is facing you, it seems dimmer than when the side of it is facing you. Mm-hmm. Some of them have spots like the sun. And if you get big enough patches of spots, then as the spot circles around, the light from the star appears to dim. And so this was, this is what I studied in graduate school. And I do actually maintain a certain level of interest in that, a certain level of activity in that, even though I'm now retired and writing books. Mm-hmm. Because many variable star astronomers consider the sun is at least borderline variable because of its because of the solar cycle, the sunspot cycle. Mm-hmm. And so I keep track of sunspots and stuff like that, and I'm looking at it's certain researchers are of the opinion we might be about to go into an extended minimum, where the sunspots bottom out and don't show up, and some things like that. And I've been following this for quite some years now. I've got a running spreadsheet that I've kept for the last 3 years of sunspot data. Just looking at the variability and how it's changing with time, and how each cycle is changing as each sunspot cycle progresses. Mm-hmm. So those are the sorts of things that I do in my spare time these days.
Amazing, too. And I was going to ask you one more question before we get to the books as well, too, that, some people are saying the sun keeps getting hotter and hotter, and the temperatures keep getting hotter and hotter as well, too. And, of course, I guess just wanted to say, it's like, I'm going to throw this out there. Would that be tied to global warming? I want to throw that out there.
Well, the sun's... the sun is the big engine at the center of the solar system. So, if the sun is getting hotter, then you would expect things on Earth to get hotter. If the sun is getting cooler, then you're going to expect things on Earth to get cooler. It does vary. There is a difference in what's called the insulation. That's different from insulation, like you put in a house to keep it warm. That it's the amount of energy that reaches Earth per unit area in like 1 second. The insolation changes depending on where you are in the solar cycle. Mm-hmm. So if we're going into an extended minimum where the solar cycles bottom out and flatline, then you would expect the insolation to change during that period as well. Mm-hmm. So that's unfortunately a lot of the climate models. There used to be something called the solar constant, mm-hmm. because the solar constant was when we thought that it all stayed the same,
right? And
now we know that it doesn't. And so astronomers have changed to this insolation value, but a lot of the climatic models, I think, best I can understand, still use the solar constant. So they're not expecting it to change when it actually does. So I would advise the model makers to sit down and maybe have a look at that.
and put an end to the global warming debate too. So.
Well, it's that kind of gets political, and I kind of don't do. I don't publicly do politics.
I know we're joking, but they're saying too, like the sun getting hotter and hotter, and everything else too, just trying to get a theory out of it. But we'll talk.
It's not. It's not.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about some other things as well too, including some of the things you're doing, and also the Cresperian Saga series, and also Displaced Detective series. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page, facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart Radio. Also on Radio Public and Anchor FM. Also watch the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube on the Mike Wagner Show YouTube channel. And take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with the Interstellar Woman of Mystery, Stephanie Osborn, author of over 40 books, including the latest about the shuttle disaster. We talked about that. And also co-authored the Cresperian Saga series and the critically acclaimed Displaced Detective Series. Let's talk about the Cresperian Saga series and just tell us all about that.
Well, the Cresperian Saga series is Travis Taylor. We mentioned him earlier. He and a gentleman named Daryl Bain wrote the first book in that series. It's called Human by Choice. And it's about Earth's first contact with extraterrestrials when their starship wrecks in our solar system and some of their life pods make it to Earth. By the time it came time to write the first book, the next book in that series, Travis's wife was getting ready to have their second baby.
Oh,
and
wow.
He's kind of up to his eyeballs. And so he just ran out of time to be able to do it. So the publisher tapped his protege on the shoulder, namely me, and so Mr. Bain took the lead on that book, and I stepped in to help co-author it. And so book 2, The Y Factor, was written. And yes, I have a cat talking in the background.
What's a cat saying? What's a cat saying?
He's fussing because my husband just fed him, and he thinks that it should be more or something. I don't know.
I'm kidding. I thought you might have detected a cat language. That's what I was saying. So
no, actually, he does pretty good with certain English words. He can communicate if he so chooses.
Nice. Okay.
It gets weird when he does that, though.
Mm-hmm.
He can say hello, uh-oh, oh no, oh,
or feed
yes.
me.
No, feed me is usually just.
I'm kidding.
But he can also say mama and Daryl, Daryl is my husband.
Okay.
So he can call us if he wants to.
Okay.
But anyway.
Amazing as well too. It's like, having unexpected guests on the show is always a good thing. I mean, I've had cats that just jump in on video cameras, microphones, and everything else, and they tend to steal the show. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the rules in show business: never follow kids or animals. So.
That's right.
But anyway.
Okay,
right.
yeah. Let's continue on with the Cresperian Saga series, and you'd like to hear more about that. Aside from the cat.
So at the end of the Y Factor, we released it, and it was like, okay, now we need to do the next book. And so Mr. Bain was getting on up in years. I think he was around 80 at that point in time, and he was starting to think maybe it's time I retired. So he decided to let me have the lead on the next book. So, the first book is listed Travis S. Taylor and Daryl Bain. The second book is listed Daryl Bain and Stephanie Osborn. The third book is Stephanie Osborn and Daryl Bain.
Oh, wow. I got a circle going round and round here.
Yeah. So the third book is the Cresperian Alliance, the Cresperians being the aliens that we encountered when they wrecked in our solar system. And so there's going to be at least a fourth book, which I'm working on. But I'm working on it. Actually, probably going to work on it with my publisher. Lyda Quillen, because she has the military background that I need for what needs to happen in that book. And it's going to be called Heritage.
Nice.
And I'm hoping here soon we'll get it finished and get it out the door.
Well, that'd be great. That'd be great. Keep us up to date with that. And I see you have won, numerous awards as well, too. We'll get to some of the awards and continue on with the Displaced Detective Series. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and also on Radio Public and Anchor FM. And take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with the Interstellar Woman of Mystery, Stephanie Osborn, who is also the Interstellar Woman of authoring, books and everything. She's done over 40 books. Latest about the shuttle disaster, co-authored the Casparian Saga series, also won numerous awards for Burnout and quite numbers. Let's talk about the Displaced Detective series, which has been picking up steam basically, and I guess a spin-off happened too, like Sherlock Holmes. And first of all, let's talk about the Displaced Detective series.
Well, that's my heavy-duty mystery series. It's been described as Sherlock Holmes meets the X-Files. I had the idea. I read an anthology of Sherlock Holmes science fiction, and I thought, this is really cool. This is something I could write. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could use... And the anthology used Victorian-era science, which there are things about Victorian-era science we now know are incorrect. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could use modern science to do this? And so I thought, well, what I need to do is I need to find a way to bring Holmes to the modern. So I did. I sat down and I did my research and I dug into something called M theory. And I worked with the concept of parallel universes. So I bring Sherlock Holmes from a parallel universe's alternate Victorian era, and I dump him down into modern day Colorado Springs. And because in his version of reality, he and Moriarty were both supposed to die at the Reichenbach Falls, he can't go back. Or he has to die. So he decides to stay in the modern day and figure out how to live there and be a modern man and a modern detective. And so he winds up working on everything from spy cases to cases of apparent mass spontaneous combustion to UFO sightings and everything. So I've got six books in that series. Now, the original publisher was more into science fiction, and so I now have a new publisher for it, Hydra Publications, their imprint, Enigma House Press, which is their mystery imprint, is in the process of re-releasing those books. And then there will be more books once the extant books are released. So the first book in that series is called The Case of the Displaced Detective, The Arrival. And I can promise you, this is not your father's Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
So this is... I went in a slightly different direction. I did my best to... I think, not everybody agrees with me, but I think that Arthur Conan Doyle would get a kick out of this series.
It sounds like it over some tea, old chap, and whatever else. This thing came up as well, too, when you mentioned Sherlock Holmes meets the X-Files and gets stuck in a modern time as well. And how much time travel is involved in this Sherlock Holmes series? Sounds like a lot of time travel.
Well, really not so much. There's the time travel involved in the first book, when in getting him to the modern day. There's also in the books are The Arrival at Speed, The Rendlesham Incident, Endings and Beginnings, A Case of Spontaneous Combustion, and Fear in the French Quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Fear in the French Quarter does involve a certain amount of time overlaps. So there is a certain amount of time travel there.
Mm-hmm.
But basically what winds up happening is that in the midst of all of the classic New Orleans hauntings, there winds up being an inadvertent wormhole to another alternate reality.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, New Orleans in the past meets New Orleans in the present, as it were.
Wow.
And so that's the nature of Fear in the French Quarter.
Mm-hmm. That's got to be something as well too. And with all the physics that you have studied, science and everything else, how big of a fan are you of time travel, and how much do you believe in time travel, and can time travel be possible today?
Well, the physics indicate that it might be possible. The question becomes how, and by that I mean you basically need materials that are so rare and unusual that we don't know how to even find them, let alone make them, let alone manipulate them into something that we could use to travel in time.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be a dangerous proposition? Almost certainly. There are things about time travel that we're not sure about. Can you really go back and change anything? If you do you change that timeline, or do you simply spin off a new timeline? Does it simply branch at that point? Things like this that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to risk going back and screwing something up by sticking your nose in where you shouldn't have been in the first place?
Right.
So there's a lot there that we simply don't know about. The physics, like I said, so far as I can tell, I've actually put together. I talk to various and sundry conventions and stuff, and I have established talks that I can do, PowerPoint presentations and stuff like that, so that I can talk to things. And I actually was invited to speak at a Doctor Who convention some years back.
Oh, really? That's one of my favorite shows, Doctor Who. Oh, my goodness, especially the beginning ones. Yes.
And so I actually put together a talk about the physics of time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how you might do it. Well, it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be something else, So I had like about 4 to 6 different possible variations on how you might be able to accomplish time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I discussed them. Everything from black holes to Tipler cylinders to, Einstein-Rosen bridges, et cetera, a.k.a. wormholes.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the trick is it scientifically possible? It's how do you come up with the materials to do it?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important too, and that's something to consider, because I've asked about time travel myself. How is it possible? And you see all those shows, like with Doctor Who and Star Trek in a sense, and any show involving time travel, Sliders, and whatever else too. So it just made me think of it too. And just one more thing about Doctor Who, since it sounds like you're a fan as well too. It's like, how do you compare the original Doctor Who to the Doctor Who today?
Well, it's the I like it all. I started to go off into this long. No, just cut to the chase, Steph. I enjoy it. period. I mean, the earlier stuff, obviously they didn't have the special effects that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the budget for special effects that we have now. So there is that. But you know what? For me, one of the scariest villain/monsters of all time is from Doctor Who.
Uh-huh.
Every time I hear exterminate,
Exterminate. Gosh. What was the name of it?
Daleks. The Daleks.
Daleks, that's it. Okay.
Like creep me out.
But of course, the Doctor wins every time too. and of course, your books have also gotten quite a number of awards. Burnout got nominated for Darrell Award, USA Book of the Year, Forward Book of the Year, and Epi Award. You can just tell us about some of that, and also you're also finalists for some other books as well too. Maybe just hit upon some of those and what award you think is like the most important to you.
Well, the most important one is the one that I actually won. I've been up for a lot of awards. I've been finalist for quite a few, but I actually won the Silver Falchion Award for actually a spin-off book from my Displaced Detective.
Mm-hmm.
I had another publisher come to me and said, Steph, I'm a huge fan of your Displaced Detective books. I want you to write a Sherlock Holmes book for me. And I said, okay. And so we sat and discussed it, and we decided what we were going to do was we were going to make it a prequel series. And I have more books planned. I just haven't gotten to them yet. This first book is out. The series is called Sherlock Holmes, Gentleman Aegis.
Mm-hmm.
It's by Pro Se Publications. And the first book is called Sherlock Holmes and the Mummy's Curse. The concept here is that it's my version of Holmes from the Displaced Detective series in his original timeline,
mm-hmm.
in the Victorian era, in his original universe. And so Sherlock Holmes and the Mummy's Curse is he and Watson have not long met.
Hello, Kitty. Hello.
He hears me talking and he wants to join in.
Hello. Oh, I wish I could ask you questions, but I can't see.
So Holmes and Watson are young men here. Not Watson is just back from the Afghan War. I play Holmes as a little bit younger than Watson. Because I got to looking at the time frames, and it's quite likely that he actually probably was a little younger than Watson, because Watson had already finished his medical degree, gone into the military, gone over to Afghanistan, and come back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing it as Holmes is relatively fresh out of school. Watson is relatively fresh back from the Afghan conflict. And they have gotten to become good friends. They've gotten to know each other. And one of Holmes's old professors calls him up, and I figured Holmes was kind of eclectic in his studies.
Mm-hmm.
And among other things, in order to learn how to handle an old crime site, he would have studied archaeology.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have one of his old archaeology professors call him up and say, Holmes, would you like to bring Dr. Watson and come to our Egyptian dig with us?
Uh-huh.
We think we've found the very first pharaoh.
Okay.
And so Holmes and Watson agree, and so it is this adventure in Egypt, on an archaeological dig to find the first pharaoh. So the book is called Sherlock Holmes and the Mummy's Curse. And there's a mystery convention. I'm a member, among other things, of the Mystery Writers of America. It's a mystery writers union, basically, or guild, or whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a mystery convention in Nashville each year called Killer Nashville, and they have an award. It's a fairly prestigious award called the Silver Falchion Award. And Sherlock Holmes and the Mummy's Curse won a Silver Falchion Award a couple years back when it came out.
Nice.
I'm extremely enthused about that. I'm very, very pleased. Up until that point, it was always a bridesmaid, never a bride kind of a thing. I would make it, I'd be a finalist or whatever, but I would never win it. And so this time it's like, yes.
Well, congratulations to you. You've got quite a catalog over here, especially with 40 books as well, too, including the shuttle disaster. And just a few more minutes here. Before we let you go, we know you're very busy and everything. Probably working on your next project while checking out the latest in the sky here. What do you consider your favorite project and the most challenging?
Favorite project?
Yes.
Oh, that's like asking somebody which one is their favorite kid. It's pretty much whichever one I'm working on at the moment. So my next project. Let's see. I just came out with a book in another author's universe. I was invited to write in his universe. So Richard Wayan has a series called the Childers series. And I wrote book 6 in it. It's called Campbell, the Sigurdsson Incident. It's kind of a prequel, so you can read it without knowing anything about the other series. But it's an excellent series. I read through it, and I just loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So that just came out. I've got another book in the Division 1 series coming out in November called Tourist Trap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on book 12 of the series. As we speak. And I'm also getting close to being about to publish. I also do, with my background, as you might expect, I've done some popular science books. And so I'm getting ready to put out a new popular science book called Incoming, the Chicxulub Impactor.
Okay.
And that's the one that hit off of the Yucatan Peninsula and was the reason that we believe the dinosaurs went extinct.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, it's going to be about that impact and about asteroid impacts in general and what damage they can cause and stuff like that. So
wow, that is going to be amazing as well too. And who do you consider your favorite writers or the writers that are most influential to you?
Oh, geez. Actually, Doyle. Let me think. Doyle. H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury. This Travis Taylor, obviously. Lois McMaster Bujold. She's alive. I love her Vorkosigan saga. And so science fiction and mystery writers, pretty much.
That is amazing too. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
You mean in terms of writers or
It can be anything, writers or the space program or science or whatever. So who do you consider biggest influence? But mainly since we're talking into writing as well, too, we could do that. Or you want to mix in, with your science career or, whatever. It's fine, too. So take your pick.
I think the biggest influence on my writing is my scientific career. Because I even I'm playing Division 1 as basically for fun, but even then, I throw out, it's got the classic tropes, the beam weapons and force fields and all that kind of stuff. But I actually sit down. I don't just throw that in there because that's classic, science fiction. I actually figure out how it might work. Figure out the science behind it. Force field. Well, it's a Higgs bosonic field, and you manipulate it. You can generate a force field. You can generate a tractor beam, you can create artificial gravity, you can create a pressure beam, all by the way you manipulate the Higgs field.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually sit down and figure these things out. So even though it sounds like, classic, almost, 1950s era, which is kind of what I'm shooting for with that series, science fiction, I still, there's science behind what I'm doing.
That is amazing.
So, and I have fun with it. So
amazing, too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
If you want to be a writer, read. And read the good stuff. The classics. Because you read that, you read a lot of that, and it kind of, it osmoses. It soaks in. And then when you sit down to write, you have all of these patterns of speech in your head, and so your writing will be better for having read all of those classic novels and things like that.
That is amazing. I actually like that. I think I'll sit down and write a book after this. And, just one more thing here. As soon as we wrap up, we're with Stephanie Osborn, the Interstellar Woman of Mystery, author of over 40 books, including the latest about the shuttle disaster. Tell everybody where can they purchase your book, and also what's your website, and how do people contact you?
Well, my website is stephanie-osborn.com. That's Osborn, Osborn. And you can contact me from that website. My books are available in Kindle, Nook, and print.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them through Amazon. You can get them through Barnes & Noble, and some of them are available through some other stores as well, Books and Me and things like that. And I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Mayway. So come by and say hi.
We'll do that. We'll do. And Stephanie, just want to say you've been fantastic. I learned a lot from you, and look forward to having you on again soon. And do us a favor. We thank you for your time, and please keep us up to date.
I will do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart Radio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program and or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.